Hey, friends, welcome back to the podcast. I am going to do a recap episode today. A couple weeks ago, I went to the Spark conference, which is for designers of many kinds. And there's people there with other businesses that kind of tie into web design and things like that. But I really had so much fun. I really enjoyed myself. I got to travel with one of my business partners who happens to be my daughter. So that was pretty great. And I learned a ton. And quite honestly, it's been a hot second since I've been to a conference. And this was something that really fueled me. And everybody needs something that they can go to where they feel like they're fueled. They leave it feeling fuller than when they arrived. And so, what I'm going to do today, I hope it doesn't suck. I'm just going to be honest, is I'm just going to go through my notes and I'm just going to tell you some of the highlights and things that I took away from the conference. And I hope that you can glean from my gleanings. How's that? So, let's jump in. Truth time. When's the last time you raised your hands for a swift kick in the pants? Well, I'm the no nonsense type friend who's going to tell you when you have food in your teeth. So let's get right to it. This is your infusion of sacred and secular, calling you higher into who God created you to be, exploring how intimately faith applies to every part of your life, and how you can live that faith every single day in the marketplace. I felt the tension of separation of church and state. I've been one of the few women at a table of men for decades, and I've stood my ground. Are you ready to do the same? These tools, resources, and interviews are meant to do just that. I'm Jan Touchberry, and it's time to share her faith at work. Okay, friends, this highlight episode, I'm hoping that it's not a hot mess. My notes are a hot mess. So, what I thought I would do is just go down through my notes and talk about some of the things that stuck out to me from the different keynote speakers and presentations that I went to. This was a conference put on by Showit, who is the website platform that I design in, and it was called the Spark Conference. And they actually it wasn't just for web designers. There were a lot of different people from a lot of different industries that were there. And I really appreciated the opportunity to network and the opportunity to hear other people and how they build their businesses and the things that they've learned over the years that they've been in business. And it was so great. And so the very first speaker that stepped on the stage, his name is James Nobu. And one of the things that really stuck out to me as a believer is that he led with his faith. And I appreciate that. I appreciated it so much that I actually found him after and let him know that that was something that it really touched me to my core for him to, in front of a room of people who may or may not be believers, he led with his faith in the Lord. And he was just out there and he was fearless about it. And isn't that how we all should be? Um, he talked about something that he called ants, automatic negative thoughts. And he said that ants usually come from places and things that need to be healed in our lives. How many of us struggle with these automatic negative thoughts that interrupt our being, our doing, our living? And I find that that's so true that if you really dig into why am I thinking this? Why is this thought coming up right now? Why is this stopping me in my tracks? If you dig into that really hard, it usually is from something that is needing to be healed in your life. I personally have started doing I guess they call it an inner healing modality called Splunkna. I know it's a funny name, but it really has healed some parts of me that have been detrimental to me moving forward in a lot of areas. And so James was saying, find a counselor, find a coach, and find a community. Those are the three things. And those really will help you in moving forward and working through these ants, automatic negative thoughts that keep us stuck and keep us from doing what the Lord has set us out to do, right? So then I got to hear from, actually, I was a little fangirly. I'm not gonna lie. Her name is Jen Olmsted. She actually is the one of the founders of the Tonic web design platform. And I use, like, my website is built on one of their templates. It's called the Margarita template. It's very fitting for a margarita loving girl. And so she talked about not hating marketing. And y'all, I'm just going to say that marketing and doing it the right way and not hating it, not feeling like it's the enemy in your business, that was a theme that I found in a lot of these speakers who aren't marketing experts necessarily. They are business people, but marketing and how we go about doing it came up over and over and over and over again. And she said something about, you don't hate marketing, you hate what you think marketing has to be. Holy cow. What a mic drop moment that is. She said it's more than just saying, come and get it. Marketing is serving and selling. Serving and selling, right? Marketing is finding creative ways to say the same things over and over and over again. And people pay more attention to stories told beautifully. And so I think that goes really into how we market what we do, right? How we market what we do and the mentality that we come into this with. If you think of marketing as something that has to be spammy, you're going to come at it with the wrong attitude. And of course, it's not going to have a good outcome, right? So if you think of it as serving your community, serving the people that the Lord has put around you that need what you have, man, you come into that with such a different mindset, and that makes all the difference. I love that she talked about how stories are what is going to sell, and stories told beautifully are more attractive, right? It is our job to attract our ideal clients. And so telling the stories that they are looking for, that will give them hope, that will give them peace, that will give them whatever it is that they need. Fill in the blank for your business, right? So whatever that pain point is, it's so important, you guys. It doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be consistent. So consistently tell stories that draw in your ideal client. Um, Something else that she said that I thought was really great, and I really am exploring this. I'll probably end up doing a whole podcast episode about it, but she said it's not a funnel. It really is a set of loops. And you need to be very aware of your customer journey and how, instead of them flowing down from the top of the funnel and out and not going anywhere, it loops to something else. So what's next for them? What's next on their customer journey? And I would say, if you don't have that figured out, let's have a conversation, because that is something that I really am passionate about helping people figure out. I actually am doing a little year-end special that I will tell you about at the end of the podcast episode. So y'all stay tuned for that, because I think it could be really helpful for some of you. And then I got to hear a guy named Johnny Ashcraft, and he talked about branding and brand discovery from a completely different perspective than I'm not a gamer, okay? But he came at branding from a gaming perspective. He actually kind of likened it to Dungeons and Dragons, and how he helped his clients get into that gaming mode and create what he called brand world building. I don't really even think I can do it justice trying to explain it to you, because I don't quite understand the gaming terminology that he used, but it sure did sound fun. It sounded like I could see myself really enjoying the process, putting myself into this gamification of building out my brand. And so I can see why the clients that he works with have such a such a really great time doing all the work that most of us, when we're building out our brand, can find very tedious. I know that I work with a lot of clients and it's just hard, but this process seemed like he made it really, really easy and fun to engage with. And so I need to go back and really kind of look at his presentation again. Um, thankfully, a lot of these speakers, shout out to all the speakers who give access to your PowerPoint presentations because it really is helpful. I can't capture everything in these notes. And so he's one of the speakers that really were so gracious in giving us access to their PowerPoints. And so I can go back and look, and I need to see what I can glean out of all of that and how I can bring that into my own business. But one of the things that really stuck out to me, like triple starred this on my notes, is break everything down into digestible chunks. And what may seem digestible for me, knowing the brand process, is probably still too big, too much for somebody, for a client who doesn't understand the brand process. So break it down into small, digestible chunks, smaller than you probably even think that they need to go. So if that is you, if you are in the brand space, or if you're in a space that really needs to pull information out of your clients, remember, you probably need to break it down into smaller parts than you think you do in order for your client not to feel overwhelmed. And when they feel overwhelmed, they do nothing, they freeze. So I thought that was super important. Elizabeth McCravey was one of the speakers that I got to hear, another fangirl moment. I've been listening to her Breakthrough Brand podcast for a really long time. And she really honed in on affiliate marketing. If you know me at all, you know that I heart affiliate marketing. If you love something, if you use it for your business, you absolutely better be promoting it to the people that you serve. And if you can promote it and they have an affiliate link that you can apply for, you get it, because every single little bit helps. I mean, $10 is $10, and $10 for, 10 customers stacks up, and it's $100 a month. And heck yes. Heck yes. So she talked about planning, organizing, and promoting for your affiliate marketing. She said pick 10 companies that you utilize on a regular basis in your business, and find out if they have affiliate links that you can apply for and get. And then so you need to pick your companies. You need to then organize stuff. So how are you going to promote? Where are you going to promote? When are you going to promote? All of that kind of stuff. Make sure that you have your links accessible. I find this with myself. I will be promoting something in a blog post like I'm doing, or a podcast like I'm doing today, or a blog that'll come after this, and I'll need that affiliate link. And before I was organized, it was a hot mess. But now I have one note in my computer and my phone. They're synced because I have Apple products, and I have one note that has all of my affiliate links in it. And so I can just do a search, I can copy and paste and put it into whatever it is. So you need to be organized with your links and your coupon codes so that you can find them easily for posts that you're doing. And also when it just comes up in conversation, you want to be able to find those links quickly, because if you have to rely on your memory to remember to send something to somebody that you might have mentioned in a passing conversation, it's probably not going to happen. And that's money you're leaving on the table. So don't do that. And then, she talked about promoting. So find places to promote. You can have, I loved this idea, an Instagram story highlight reel or highlight section for every single affiliate partner that you have. I thought that was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. She also uses Pinterest a lot for promoting her affiliates. I have not done that, but I am getting back into the Pinterest game, and I love the idea of promoting my affiliate partners there. And then building landing pages for specific affiliates on your website. I also thought that was a great idea. I have a couple of those, but I can see how it would be beneficial to build out even more of those on my website, because it makes it easy for people to remember where to go. So, for instance, if I have I have an affiliate partnership with Flowdesk, right, for email marketing. So Right now, my promo link is flowdesk.com/JanTouchberry/ blah, 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 blah. Well, who's going to remember that? Nobody. But if I have a landing page on my website that's specifically devoted to Flowdesk, I can say, go to jantouchberry.com/Flowdesk and you'll get all the information. And if I can just keep that cadence going, jantouchberry.com/Badow, jantouchberry.com/ fill in the blank, whatever your affiliate is. People start remembering that cadence. And even if they hear something in passing, I think Jenna Kutcher's super good at this, right? So I'll hear something in passing in her podcast and think, oh my gosh, I need to get that. And I may not know exactly what the link is, and I may not have time to go to her show notes to find it, but I can pretty much figure out where to go to get it online because she has the same cadence. She uses her website / whatever it is that she's promoting, and that's how you find it with that link. So having that same cadence gets people in the habit of knowing how to find things that you're promoting, and I just thought that was absolutely fantastic. Lots on marketing, y'all. Lots on marketing. I think I'm going to do a whole podcast on marketing because I got connected with a brand new startup company called Enji. And the best way that I can describe it is they are your marketing firm in website form without having to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for it. This system that they have built inside this website will allow you to put in all of your information about your business, what you're trying to do, what your goals are, who you're trying to serve, and it helps you come up with your marketing strategy. And then, if you're anything like me, your girl likes a great to-do list. And so this actually breaks down everything by task and populates a calendar for you. Hello. Why do I love that so much? Well, it's because I don't have to waste my brain power on figuring out how to populate a calendar. This thing does it for me. And then literally I can go into it every single day or on days that I have marked out for doing my marketing for my business. And it tells me what tasks I'm supposed to do. And then I just do the things. I don't have to guess because it's all done for me and it's magic. And I'm so excited to really start digging into this for my business. I really think it's going to ramp things up for me and what I'm trying to do and who I'm trying to serve in 2025. And I cannot wait to bring you more on this. I actually am hoping that I can get one of the founders of NG to come on the podcast and talk about it with me because I just think it's brilliant. She's brilliant. The whole thing is brilliant. And you need to know about it in your business. I will leave all these links in the show notes for you guys, just in case you're curious and you want to start doing some research on them. Krista Jones talked about marketing again, the marketing thing. And y'all, this is just scratching the surface. I'm not even telling you everything that I was able to hear and all the speakers that I was able to hear, but there are a few more that talked about marketing. But Krista was so good because she said, effective marketing begins with listening. Effective marketing begins with listening. Well, who are you listening to? You should be listening to your ideal client. And if you're not doing that client research, you're missing out, right? She talked about lead magnets, and she said that lead magnets should qualify your leads. You want lead magnets that are speaking to your ideal client so that when they click on that, you know that they are a qualified lead. They've gone from cold to warm, right? What you create should be tied to your offer. Don't create random lead magnets that have nothing to do with what you're trying to sell or what you're trying to give. You need to tie it to your offer so that when someone clicks on that, your next best step for them is to introduce them to this offer, right? It makes total sense. She also kind of talked about marketing as more of a loop than a funnel, which I thought was interesting that came up again. I'm kind of formulating something in my mind I almost think that more than a funnel and more than a loop, especially in businesses like mine that I have lots of offers, it's more like a spring. Like it goes round and around and around and around and around. And so really figuring out that customer journey is super, super important. As a business owner, there's almost nothing worse than finding out that the marketing funnel that you've spent so much time thinking through and implementing is broken. The link doesn't work, the form doesn't capture the information the way that it should. God forbid it's linked to an old offer. Oh my goodness. Or maybe your email sequence doesn't trigger correctly. It's horrible to know that you have spent all of that time and effort and energy and you're missing being able to capture the information of people that you could serve that could become your biggest fans and, let's face it, get you some sales. I get it. The pieces of your funnel should work seamlessly together, but sometimes it feels like they're not quite connecting, or they just flat need an overhaul. But you don't have to do that alone. I am offering a new year funnel audit, and this is kind of how it works. First, you're going to fill out an audit application so we can see if this is a good fit for your business and the place that your business is in. Then I'm going to get to work. If you decide that this is something that you want to take advantage of, I'm going to evaluate and dissect, and don't worry, I'm going to try to make this part as kind and as painless as possible, but I will find the holes and I will help you fix them. So if you need more information or you want to get started on that application, you just go to jantouchberry.com/funnel. That's jantouchberry.com/funnel. Get the process started and let's get started making your funnel on point for 2025. Another thing that I thought was brilliant that she talked about was content. And y'all know that I am not all about being on the content creation hamster wheel. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And I hate that I'm including myself in this, although I'm at the point in my business where I'm kind of bucking the system a little bit or a lot. We have become slave to content creation, and a lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs are spending more time creating content than they actually are spending working on their business. And I think that's a shame. I think it's wrong. And I think there's a better way to do business. And so she talked about what I've heard many term as the content waterfall. And so you start with one form of long form content, which is usually a podcast or a blog post, right? And then you take that, and from that content that you're creating, you create smaller pieces of content that you can use in other places. So you're creating one time. And then if you're like me, you use AI to break it up into the other pieces that you need. And then you just schedule the dang things. And it's awesome. And so I'm a huge fan of long form content and using that to break it into smaller bite-sized chunks to use for other things in other places. And so let's be smart with our content creation, shall we? I think that's great. Another really great speaker, her name was Angel Marie. She talked about email marketing, and she talked about an email marketing loop. It's the loop. It was a theme, y'all. And it's funny because I don't think these speakers talk to each other about their presentations beforehand. And so I'd never really thought about a marketing loop. Like I've never even heard that term. And yet I heard it 4 or 5 times in the course of a 3-day conference. And so she talked about this loop where you gather your subscribers, you build trust, you sell your offer, you make sales, and then you repeat. So it's just this loop. And again, if you take the loop concept and think about it in the context of a customer journey, and if you have multiple offers, right? It's a spring. So you gather your subscribers, you build trust, you sell an offer, you make sales, and maybe instead of repeating, they go on to that next loop in the spring, right? What's the next thing that would be best for that particular client? What is the next thing for them on their journey? And then you're building trust, you're selling that offer, you're making the sales, and then they're going on to the next loop in the spring, right? Can you see that? I hope it's not just me. I think it's a pretty good analogy. I think that the bottom line with all of these things is making sure that you are learning, that you're never staying stagnant, that you're consistent, right? Consistency was another theme that I learned, or that I heard a lot from a lot of these people, especially in the marketing world. You have to be consistent, whether it's email marketing or text marketing or social media content posting or blog posting or podcast, whatever it is, you have to be consistent. Let your clients, let your potential clients be able to count on you for what you're delivering on a consistent basis, because that makes the whole sales and marketing process easier. It builds that know, like, and trust factor, and it is going to help you succeed in the long run. And then I'm skipping so much. I feel so bad that I'm skipping so much. But I think what I'll do is I'll just, I'll break this down into smaller episodes that will be able to go more into detail in some of these things. But the highlight, I think, of this thing for me was the final keynote speaker. I got to hear Amy Porterfield. If you don't know who she is kind of the queen of digital courses in my mind. DCA is her course, Digital Course Academy. I think that she is probably the most famous person who teaches people how to create digital courses. I'm not sure if she was the first one to create a course on digital courses, but she sure has made a lot of money teaching it, and I've taken it. It is excellent. She has an amazing podcast, and I feel like she is the mentor. She is one of the many mentors that I have in the digital space who I probably will never meet in person. But I sat 20 feet away from her, and that was really cool. And she is just she is super inspirational. She told some really painful stories about things in her business that went wrong, and being brave, being brave through it all. And she said one thing that really stuck out to me, that if you know that it's going down, whatever you're doing is going down the wrong path, and you know it in your gut. She said, don't be afraid to burn it down now and build it back better. Don't be afraid to burn it down now and build it back better. I think so many times we are afraid to stop something. We're afraid to pivot. And I think we need to not be afraid. I think we need to be brave. She said that one of her main regrets is failing to run her own race and comparing to everybody else, and not asking herself what she wants to be known for. What does she want to be known for? And building that. And she said, if you find that the answer to that question is not congruent with where you're at in your business, don't be afraid to burn it down and build it back better. That is probably a word for somebody out there. I don't know who. But I hope that in all of this mess of a podcast today, I hope that you've gleaned a couple of little nuggets from my nuggets. And I think in closing, in the immortal words of Amy Porterfield, always bet on yourself. Always bet on yourself, friends. Trust that the Lord has given you a vision and a purpose, and go for it. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Bet on yourself. The Lord is faithful. He's going to equip you to do what he's called you to do. And step out in faith. Don't let the ants, automatic negative thoughts, don't let them stop you. Don't let them control you. And go for it. And I can't wait to see what you partnering with the Lord do in the world and who you are able to serve. I hope you have a great week. See you next time. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Her Faith at Work. If the Lord put someone on your heart that you think needs to hear this message today, will you just smash that share button? And if you haven't already followed the show, I would love for you to do that. Super extra points if you hop over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. That helps the algorithm pick us up and drop us right in the AirPods of people that need to hear what the Lord is saying to them today. I hope you'll come back for the next episode of Her Faith at Work. The podcast comes out every Wednesday. And if you look down in the show notes, I've even got a couple of free downloads for you that I think you will really enjoy. With that, have a great week. See you next time.